It is a life journey about Joseph Kubanda's real-life experiences as penned down in his book, In Search of Gold. We speak to him today. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time. Now, you begin by saying that nostalgia of childhood and rigors of existence under strange conditions, punctuated by the desire to stay relevant with the changing times, has formidably created the need to share this story with the world. May this story inspire young people. What do you mean when you say this is what inspired you to write this story?
Basically, I look at the situation today. I look at young people today and what they are taken through. And I suppose they do not have enough time. We children today are not taken through a system whereby they grow learning and playing as young kids. Is as opposed to the past. No, today if you have a child who is attending preschool, you'll notice that that child wakes up at 5 a.m. That child is whisked to school. The child comes back late in the evening, way past 10, and the child is heavily laden with homework. That child will hardly be asleep by 10 in the night, struggling to catch up with the homework. That's too much workload for a child at the age of preschool. And that is what the Kenyan system is pushing children through. People are so concerned about a child's performance in school, and they don't care about the child's all-round development. I look at our childhood, I look at our background, and compare it with what children are taken through today, and I think we need a remedy.
One of the other things that really stands out for me is what you've written on page 15 about how adults in your neighborhood would not get along, but that you as children were able to rise above that. And you say that the children seemed not to pay attention to the racial glare or tribal differences that were present in the minds and the actions of the adults. So basically the kids being able to conquer those tribal barriers, but the adults still stuck in them, and yet they're the ones you'd hope would already understand the negative effects of such inhibitions in terms of interactions. How is it that you as children kept such a tight bond?
My parents, my mother in particular, had problems with me interacting with children of Asian descent. And she kept on insisting that I should not relate or play with them. But according to me, we did not see that. We were not able to identify that. One day, when I had a misfortune of swimming in a sewage, and I was admitted at Bunanak Hospital, that is when those young kids from Indian descent, those young Indians, came and stuck by my hospital bed. They didn't go home. They stayed there for 3 days. Yeah. That is when it dawned on my mother that actually our friendship was deep-rooted. Yes. We were not just relating cosmetically like adults do.
You come across as a very naughty child. You were on very many occasions punished. You did crazy things. On one instance, you say you'd never seen a water body before, and you went to Uganda and just went in and jumped into Lake Victoria, almost drowned. But one heartbreaking incident that you talk about on page 23 is when you were left to babysit 6-year-old child, and everybody else had left. It was just you and the child, and you decided to go away for a walk, and when you came back, the house was on fire. The child was inside the house. Later, he died. Very sad, of course, happening right there, but how were you able to deal with that?
That little boy died in my hands. I struggled. I didn't know what to do. I got into the house. It was on fire. I walked through the smoke. I got the child. I got him out, and then the little chap died in my hands as I helplessly watched. Then I remember these people found me in water. They actually picked me from Lake Victoria when I had gone swimming, and I thought they will not be impressed. So I decided to run away. I was so scared. I decided that was the first time I was seeing somebody die. So I tried to run away, and because I had inhaled enough carbon monoxide, I ran out of breath. I collapsed on the road, and people took me to hospital, and I was arrested thereafter and committed to a juvenile cell where I stayed for 2 weeks.
The other thing, what really stands as well for me, strong
after some time, I went over it. I became very seriously involved in church matters. I became an altar boy. I was having mass for Father Francis, a Dutch priest in Misivo. And that is when I nurtured a commitment to want to serve God. Yes. Until when I was chased from the seminary, yes. The senior seminary at a fairly adult age.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why were you chased?
I grew up nurturing a desire to want to become a priest. But when I joined the seminary, I realized that things operate differently, that you are meant to operate in a pipe. You could not just do anything. You required permission almost on everything. You needed guidance, permission on all aspects. I found that to be too taxing.
So you've written the book in third person. Why not write it as I, me, and you're talking about Joseph, yet it's yourself?
When you write in third person, you give yourself authority to look at both sides. You can still give opinion on the other side, but if you are writing like I, then it becomes difficult for you to give opinion on what happens on the other side. Because now then I'm in a position, I've given myself authority to comment even on issues that happened behind Joseph's back.
So very important is one of the things that is highlighted is, and a big lesson that many parents can pick up on, is how do you handle children? How does society handle people it does not understand?
You will notice that at one point or the other, you are unable to understand your own child, because the kind of atmosphere, the environment that young people are taken through, it does not provide an option for them to relate with adults, with grown-ups, the way children used to do in the past.
Right.
Yeah. At times, when I look at restlessness as giftedness,
yeah.
In most cases, people do not understand people who are restless. They find them to be on the wrong all the time. That should not be the case. At times we look at people, young people, and everything they want to touch on in their course of development, and we punish them. We don't let them freely develop, touch, and interact with everything like they would have wished to. So I like that part of my upbringing, in the sense that much as there was consistent punishment on everything we touched our hands on, but I found it very encouraging. It was like an eye-opener, yeah. Because then we experienced almost everything.
Yes.
Yeah. Although unfortunately fate had its hand, yeah, around us all the time.
Right. So why should people buy this book?
This country, I think, in my opinion, is on the verge of collapse. We are not creative. We are nurturing a culture of a people who are anti-style. I tune to radio stations each day and listen to the language spoken on radio, and my heart bleeds for the young generation of this country. I tune to TV stations and listen to the language programs on TV are carried in, and I think we need a remedy. If someone comes to national television and young children are watching, they identify this person as a role model. They would like to speak like this person. And he comes to national television and says, wewe wanakumbuka sisi mapenzi yetu vile sisi walikuwa pamoja. Which language is that? Like a girl recently wrote to me when I was teaching in high school. A girl wrote to me in composition that when I stepped out of our house, I met a dude walking with two hot chicks. And she's writing this in the context of the exam.
So why should people buy this book?
This book will help nurture creativity. One, it will help nurture creativity. Two, it will help people to understand that when you see someone who is restless, it does not mean that they're just stubborn, they will want to pick on anything. Yes. And again, it will also help child handlers, in the sense that then they will not push children so much. They will also understand children and why they behave in a certain way.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate you taking time to talk to us on our book review.
All right.
We wish you the best.